Welcome to Spaz on Tech. I'm Spaz, and we're about to jump into some technology today. We're going to get this channel actually going versus just having one video about my keyboard that never got any additional videos yet. We'll work on that. I'm still using the keyboard. So here we go. We're going to learn Sveltekit and Tailwind CSS. I'm on a journey with these two tools, thanks to a friend, Clark Sell, from that conference and that.us, who pointed me to use it when I was working on building up a website again, and I was going to use some static generation stuff to just do a static site. And instead said, yeah, you might want to look at this stuff. It's pretty cool. So I did. I spent a couple hours on it. I'm still on my journey, but I'm going to take you along and just show you as we go. We'll sort of build up a little bit of an application here and learn some technology along the way. Going to try to keep these under 20 minutes if I can help it, because I don't like watching long videos myself. And it's also a long process to record, and then if you have to make any edits. We're going to try to do this, hopefully, in this take. I wish you could see how many takes I've had. It's been a long day. It started last night. So here we go. What are we going to build? So let's just start off. We're going to build something really simple off the bat. We're just going to build a very basic content page with some content on it. And we'll have some different sections so we can sort of do sort of like this grid layout. But we want it to be responsive to where when we go to a mobile device, we're going to be able to break it into stacked elements like so. This will be the basis for the beginning of this application. We'll eventually add on top and bottom navigation pieces and components that we can then load dynamically into our content over time. Those will happen in later episodes. Too much to cover in just one episode. So we're going to come over to the development environment and really get moving and try to get this going as fast as we can. I will cover as much as I can. Ask any questions in the comments. I will reply. So here we go. We're going to first start off with Sveltekit and getting that up and running. Things you'll need. You'll need some form of an editor. I'm going to be using NeoVim in my WSL2 session here on Windows 11. So this top section, I'll be running NeoVim once I've got the project started. And the bottom will just be where I'm running commands. I'm in a Tmux session here. So what we'll do here is we're going to grab this command off the Sveltekit main page. And we're going to paste that in. And then we're going to give our project a name. We want this to make us some money, so we'll call it the Moneymaker app. And right away, it asks us a couple questions. What template do we want to use for Svelte? In this case, we're going to use a skeleton template. I don't want any additional content. We'll start off very basic. No TypeScript. We're not going to do TypeScript this time. I'll turn on ESLint and I'll turn on Prettier. And this creates a folder called Moneymaker, which has got our project in it. We do have to do an npm install to install all the components. This will be real time. I'm not going to do any movie magic. We're just going to let it run and it'll end in a couple seconds here. It does not take very long. And we'll exit out of there. And at this point, we can now do an npm run dev, and I'm going to do -- open. This will get us a browser session fired up right away as well. And we have our first Svelte application up and running with Sveltekit. And that is literally as basic as it gets to get a site up and running. I will go up here, we'll change into this directory, and I'm going to open NeoVim. Every time I say NeoVim, I type NeoVim instead of typing nvim. But nvim is the command on my system, so... this is just showing off the directory and all of the files that are created. We will not mess with any of these. The only file we're going to work with today, in this case, is going to be in the source directory, and in routes, it'll be this index page. So here's the index page. You can see the content that is displayed on the screen to your right. We'll delete the word for that, and we'll put Moneymaker in here just to show off that we can actually change the page. And look how fast that server refreshed it for us. So that's one of the cool things I do like about this development environment experience with Sveltekit is this Vite piece that they're running down here is super fast. Every time you make a change, it just picks it up and immediately injects it, except for the layout page, which we'll talk about in a couple seconds. So the next piece of the puzzle that we want to get into this project was Tailwind. Tailwind CSS is this framework that allows you just to keep writing in your HTML in class tags. And what it ends up doing is injecting a CSS file. So basically it parses all this out, creates one CSS file that only has the pieces you want. I think they have an example somewhere down here of what it does. So it literally just generates a CSS file with just the elements you want and then allows those classes to stay there and just makes it work brilliantly. It's very, very nice and gives you very easy ways to do responsive design. So this will be part of what we're going to do today, is be able to create a really quick responsive design page within these two technologies. So we'll start there and we'll get moving. So to add Tailwind CSS, the fastest way, the easiest way I found to do this, you can do it the manual way. That's the hard way. For me, is just to use this Svelte adder. It's called Svelte add. And you just literally copy this npx command. And we're just going to go down here I'm going to go down to my bottom window, kill the development server quick. And we'll paste that in and just execute it. And once that's done, again, we just got to run an npm install. And at this point, we will literally have everything set up for Tailwind CSS in our project. So I'm going to go back and run the development server one more time. It'll spawn another browser for me. Let me just get there. Went too far. There we go. And we've lost all of our styling. And the reason we've lost all our styling is the way this gets wired into our Svelte app is it overrides all of the style. So H1 has no style. Nothing has a style unless you explicitly add it through a class string into your HTML, and Tailwind will then generate the CSS file for that and bring all your styles together. So it gives you basically a very clean slate to start building the style you want within your project. The other thing, one of the pieces it does do is it does create, let me get out of this mode quick. It does create a layout page, which is a standard Svelte component, and imports that app CSS. So we'll just go open that app CSS just so you can see it. And all this is Tailwind base, components, and utilities. That is how it's wired in, and it's put into this layout file. And this slot command is basically any page. So in this case, index.svelte gets injected as slot. Okay. So if we wanted to, you could add a header and footer right here, right now. I will actually add a couple things just to start giving us some style. So what we're going to do is we're going to add right off the bat. We'll just get a div in place, and we're going to use some capabilities out of Tailwind to set a background. That's going to be interesting. So there is a capability to do gradients within Tailwind. So I'm just going to type this in, and then I'll go look at the documentation so you can see where this all comes from. We're going to go from a green 400, and we're going to go to a orange 400. We're going to set the height to screen, and I'm just going to go down here. I need to get an end div in here and save that away. And immediately the server picked it up, and we have a gradient background covering the entire div that goes the whole screen. So if you come out to Tailwind docs and you type in gradient, you can get the documentation for how to do a gradient. And it literally is this simple. It's background, gradient, to, and you specify the direction, right, left, top, bottom. Then you do a from with your colors. And how do you get your colors? Well, there are color themes inside of Tailwind, and all of these colors are available with these names and then how dark they are, this value right here. And you can go from 50 to 900. These are all the increments you can do. Also, if you don't like the color palette, although it's a nice, rich color palette, you can also customize the Tailwind config and add your own colors in. We'll maybe do that in the future to really set our own unique colors. But for now, we're just going to start this site off with the information we have here. All right, quickly, let's go back to our whiteboarding session and talk about the content layout we are going to build. We're going to build this section here. And to do this, really all we're going to need is we're going to need a div on the outside, and then each of these elements here, let's use rainbow. This color and this one will all be divs as well. And we're just going to get some boilerplate lorem ipsum style stuff and put it in there. So let's go to our index page and get started on that right now. All right. So I'm going to open up the index page, and we're just going to delete all the content that's in here. And rather quickly, we are going to set up a div. This will be the parent. And we're not going to do any styling right off the bat. I'm just going to do plain Jane HTML, other than I'm going to insert ourselves some divs with some lorem. We're going to do, let's just do 150. It'll be pretty big text that way. Actually, let's do 50, and maybe I'll change one of them. We'll start off with 50, and we'll do 3 of those. So I'm using Emmet to build this out so I can do this, and it generates it. And then, like I said, I'm just going to change this to 150. And then, again, I'm just going to use some shortcut commands, which will just get the generation done for all of this. So there we go. We have some lorem ipsum. I'm going to save that now, and immediately our page has changed, and here's all of the content we have. Now, we have no good styling on this, none whatsoever. It is not pretty right now. So let's begin the process of styling this up. So one of the first things we want to do is we're going to create this as a flex with a flex. Actually, no, we're going to do this as a grid. This will be easier as a grid, I think. So let's make this a grid. And we'll work through a grid in a call span of 2. And it should be okay. Let's see. If we just do a call span of 2, should get us most of the way. We'll add a gap maybe of 3. And all of this is Tailwind CSS. I'm not doing anything special, and that's a padding of 3. And just to get this set, oops, I did a horrible job of putting the class tag in here. So let's do the class tag and get that in here quick. And all this is just literally adding a class to this. So we'll add another class down here, and we're going to do a background of white. And we also can do this thing called rounded, which will give us rounded corners. And we'll also put a padding of 3 on this as well. And we're just going to apply this to each of these divs. So just get this set up right, because I made a mistake there. So I'll just type this one out just to be a little quicker here. And again, BG white, rounded. I did make a spelling error. I see that now. So let's go fix these. And it's probably spelled wrong here too. There we go. And we'll save that. And now what we've got is we've got rounded cornered boxes that are doing pretty good. We do have a problem here because I did make a CSS mistake. And that's in this up here. I forgot to put a dash in there. So if I do that, I believe it is grid. It's actually grid columns is what it's supposed to be. So let me fix this. We'll get rid of this. And grid calls, so we'll get over here and do this as grid calls. Okay, there we go. And we'll save that. So what we have is we have a grid with 2 columns with a gap of 3 in between elements and with a padding of 3 as well. And each of our divs now is background of white, rounded corners, and then a padding of 3. This again is all Tailwind CSS, and it gives us all these capabilities. We wanted, if I go back to our whiteboard, we want this first element, though, in a larger screen to be 2 columns wide. So we need to make a change right here. So to do that, what we're going to do is in the class tag for that top div, that first div, we're now going to tell it to do call span of 2. And immediately we now get that nice looking layout we wanted. We're almost done with the way we're going to build out this first page. So the problem though is when we go small, all it does is resize. It works fine, but that's not what we want. Again, when we get to mobile, we want it to go to this look and feel, fully stacked, and be a single column. So how can we do that? Well, this is where Tailwind has some shortcuts. So really we want to be at a 2 column span here when we're on a medium screen. Otherwise, we want to be in a call span of 1. So we'll set that one up like that. We want to do the same thing with the parent. The parent, we want to go medium size screen or larger. We want to grid columns 2. Otherwise, I want to grid columns 1. And now if we save this, what should happen is as this screen gets smaller, oops, I didn't actually save it. There, now we saved it. When it gets smaller, it automatically changes into that vertical layout because now it's a grid column 1 because this is a small display. As soon as it expands, it automatically, that top element, starts spanning over the 2 columns and it becomes 2 columns across. And that is as simple as we can create a very quick responsive content page within Tailwind CSS and inside of our Svelte application. Again, we haven't used much of the Svelte features yet, but this is a good base start for how we're going to get going on this project. In the next episode, we are going to spend some time, make a navigation menu that is mobile friendly so we can get that little hamburger little icon and it'll expand out and such. But this just is a good way of getting you started with a quick project up and running, and we'll build on this as we move forward. If you like this idea and this content, please subscribe and hit the like button. That'll help others find it as well. We'll continue to move this content and try to build a new way of looking at technology for you. So these will hopefully be quick little videos. We should be under 20 minutes on this video, I hope. And I'll get this one uploaded as quick as possible. And the second one will be right behind it, as I'm just going to continue to work through building out the rest of this application for us. So can't wait to see you next time. This is Spaz. I'm out.